My real name would be Jimmy Adewale Amu. I'm originally from Ogun State, born and bred in Lagos. I've lived all my life in Lagos State, but you know, born on the island. I was born in Obalende, lived predominantly on the island, so I'm an island boy. I was in Sule for a few, for some years as well, so you could call me Lere boy as well. I'm just a Lagos boy, all through and through. From Lagos, I've moved, as a DJ, I've had to, move across the world, so I'm not limited to Lagos. I come from a polygamous home. My dad had a couple of wives. From my mom, there are five of us. I have three brothers and a sister. Growing up for me was fun. Like I said, I was born on the island in Obalende precisely. And if you know the island lifestyle in those days, it's just fun. There are always parties every weekend. There are music shops, blaring loud music. A whole lot of fun activities. And everybody, there was a community at the time. Everybody knows everybody. I can eat in anybody's house, so we all know ourselves. Everybody's like, as a kid, you're everybody's son or everybody's daughter, because if you misbehave in the next house, like three houses away from, they can flog you there, they can discipline you there, So it was for me, upbringing was very, very on point, very ideal. I come from a home where, my parents were just not very strict, but they were disciplinarians. They don't take, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a businessman, but they don't tolerate bad behavior. So in as much as I grew up in an environment where you were free to move around, you're still mindful of, getting reported at home in terms of you misbehave on the outside. So we were guided,
Friend for DP.
Of course, you go to school, get education, and then hope that you get the right job growing up. But for me, I pretty much finished school, and because I grew up in an environment where music was, or entertainment as a whole was a lifestyle, I was heavily influenced by that. My dad was, an importer of electronics and a collector of music at the time. So he used to be the one to provide music and equipment services for a lot of people, a lot of things, events around my place then. My brothers probably got that from him, and they were into music collection as well, a lot of it. They were buying a lot of records. When you say music collection, it's not like now where everybody's downloading. At that time, people were buying music, so you were buying records, and it's not something everybody could afford or what everybody gets into. So the people that collect music were known and were respected for that. So I come from a home where people out in the neighborhood knows that, man, you need to invite these guys for your gig. Otherwise, the music won't be great, because these people had more music collection than anybody around the space at that time. So my brothers were always like providing that services, in terms of, you must, call them, and then they bring a lot of records to your parties. I, on the other hand, wasn't looking at that direction, but I knew a lot of music. So I grew up being, an aspiring rapper. In my mind, I thought I was going to make a rap record someday, but in the course of everything, I moved from being a rapper to being a breakdancer, from being a breakdancer to being a DJ, which was heavily influenced by my older brothers at the time, and that's how I found myself here, So pretty much in terms of growing up, it was fun for me. It was, I don't even recollect any not so pleasant experience, maybe except for now that you're aware, you will now look and say, oh, okay, all those things that we thought we were, dealing with as normal lifestyle. It was, it was a tough period, but, we dealt with it like that was the way of life. For instance, I move around, not being able to afford transportation, and then you claim staff when you enter bus. You jump down from the buses before you get to the bus stops. And I thought it was just normal thing that everybody does. I didn't know that we were broke ass, we were broke ass people at the time, you know. So, I mean, now you can look back and just laugh at those periods, but for me, upbringing was, I mean, my growing up was fun. And I grew up in an environment where, you know, lifestyle was simple, but was very, you know, lively. Like we say, I'm a Lafayette boy, and as a Lafayette boy, it's fun, you know, always.
Me, I no go do you wrong. Oh. Me, I no go do you wrong. Oh.
I'd gotten into DJing from being an aspiring, from just loving music. I started out as a kid loving music. Like I said, my parents, my brothers were buying a lot of records, dumping them at home. I was an introvert. I wasn't going out. So pretty much what I had to play with was the music that they were dumping at home. So that influenced my love for music, first of all. And then, you know, later on, my brothers had started DJing. But at that time, I was more into, I'd found love for rap music, especially, you know, from the very first time I heard a rap song, which coincidentally happened to be the first rap record ever released. So I started toying with that idea of, you know, rapping and writing my own rhymes. And then obviously enabled, you know, freestyle battles and all that, you know. So I wasn't thinking of the DJing aspect of it, but I guess, you know, frequent battles, we didn't call it battles then, it's, you know, trading verses, you know, of, you know, being an aspiring rapper or a rapper at that time to being a b-boy, you know, break dancer. And then people just won't let you take part in that anymore because everybody knows your stunts, everybody knows your lines, you know. And I started changing records for them. So that's how I kind of got drawn into the DJing aspect. Plus the fact that my brothers were DJs, you know. So that kind of, and I got into DJ and I got more comfortable with it. So that I lost the interest in, you know, even making records. I just felt like, you know, let me, you know, be playing music in the meantime. So, you know, you get a proper job like they say at that time in terms of, you know, but I've been DJing since then. In the meantime, hopefully someday I'll get a proper job. But, you know, I love my life. It's simple, it's basic, it's fun, you know, and it's exciting because truth, what you do as a DJ is, you know, kind of uplifting for people, you know. People come into venues, events, they're not too, you know, in the best of mood, but by the time the music hits them and it's great, which is what I do, they get excited and get happy. And, you know, that for me is the biggest reward you can get from doing anything. That what you do actually take people from a sober state to an exciting, a level of excitement, you know. So I'm excited about what I do. I love it. I want to do more of it. I want to keep doing it. So maybe I'm not looking for that new job anymore. So.
Bad man, you should know. Money, mojo.
Apprenticeship, I would pretty much, you know, credit my brothers for that. And but apparently, you know, my brothers were not really, you know, DJing professionally. They were DJing for just the love of it. When they probably realized that I was more serious about DJing, they had gotten a guy to, you know, school me more in terms of the DJing act. His name is Kachi. The politician now, you know, was the guy that, you know, actually then, you know, took what I had from my brothers to, you know, pretty much a professional level. And it took him a day to teach me. So because pretty much it's like learning to drive. I already had access to cars, you know, so it's like you already having access to cars and then somebody teaches you how to drive. You can just go back to your cars and always practice. And, you know, so because my brothers were already DJing, they had all the equipment, they had the music, you know, the collection. And then these guys schooled me a bit. You know, I just went back to what we had and then developed myself more, you know. So pretty much an internship for me would be, you know, just have 1-2 times with Kachi and be, you know, but otherwise I'll say my brothers taught me to DJ.
Money, mojo. Just because I'm balling on them. Talking nonsense.
I mean, in terms of my parents accepting what I do, first of all, I don't think they had a choice. I'm a product of my immediate environment. And when I say immediate environment, I'm talking about my immediate family. Like I said, my dad was into music some way. My mom was collecting a lot of music, in terms of some other genre of music. My brothers were DJing before me. So I'm like, what that whole process led to. But it wasn't like they thought I was going to be a DJ, but I was going to be in that music space. So I didn't really have opposition from home. It was more from the outside, like people not understanding what you do. But with my parents, never had that issue. And there was never, I don't think my parents ever thought it was a decision, like, okay, I'm going to be a DJ. There was never any time that I told myself I'm going to be a DJ. It was just, okay, I'm doing it. In the meantime, I'm still doing it, and then people ready to pay for your services, people appreciating what you're doing, and then you look and say, how can I make more of this? How can I do more with this? And then it kept on like that. So it wasn't a set out plan to be, a DJ. I didn't grow up saying when I grow up I want to become a DJ. And I think it's only now in recent time that people do have that plan. At the time I was growing up, you can only have one of 3 or 4 plans, which is I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a pilot. Everything I've done has revolved around DJing. I might, right now it's a different thing because you might want to say I'm doing other things because I have money invested in some other areas, but I'm not in charge of those, so it's my money working for me in those other areas. But what I do, the work that I do is DJing, but I do have money working for me in some other areas, which is normal thing in life, but I don't do any other thing. First of all, I think you have to acquire the skill. It's a profession that requires that skill, or being able to put music together, mix music. But it doesn't end with that, because a lot of people have learned to mix, but they still don't make a great DJ, So your ability to be able to read the minds of people comes into play. Your, how smart you are as a person in terms of, they all add up, It's like you saying, what does it take to be an historian? It's not about reading just history books. You say, what does it take to become a doctor? It's not about just reading medical books. You will have to even learn English, you will have to learn business, you will have to, understand the other areas of science things. So in terms of what makes a DJ, I would say what makes a DJ like me is, a whole lot of stuff, It's a cocktail of a whole lot of stuff. It's not just that skill, because I've seen people that are very skillful. They're DJs, but they're not, And then I've seen people that their skills are not exactly fantastic, and they're regarded as, very great DJs, because they try in some other areas, So it would be tough to just say this is what, makes a DJ, apart from the fact that it can make.
Hold you tight, cause I can't let go.